Hey, it's Scott at startatherapypractice.com. In just a moment, I'm going to give you a screenshot walkthrough of my progress note. But first, I wanted to let you know that I originally created this note for personal use. And as other therapists noticed what I was using, they asked if they could use it also. I let them on one condition, that they give me input on how to make it better. After I implemented these suggestions, I started offering the note for purchase. I knew how much other EMRs were charging, which is a barrier for therapists who are just starting out or who want to keep their paperwork simple and inexpensive. This note system has been improved upon for over 10 years and has served many different therapists in that time. My therapists have used this note in my clinics since we began, and it has helped me have a universal way of keeping up with notes and billing. It has also decreased physical paper, but most important, it has streamlined paperwork for myself and made my therapist more efficient, which essentially earns them more money. Whether you are a private practice therapist or not, I know you will benefit from the simplicity of this note system and that it will save you time. Unlike monthly subscription EMRs, this note system is a one-time purchase. You can check out how inexpensive this note is by going to startatherapypractice.com, clicking on Products. You can also email me there through the contact page with any questions. Okay, first I'm going to give you a very quick flyover tour, and then I'll break down the steps one by one for each aspect of this therapy note. So let's go.
Now, if you're not familiar with spreadsheets, this may look a little busy, but don't be intimidated. There are only a few details that you have to fill out on each page. Much of the information on this page is static, which means you will not have to change it. Another large portion of the information here may need to be changed by you, but only once. And then that information is populated or automatically placed on the other pages in order to decrease your work. First off, at the bottom, there are different pages. This is sheet 1, and it is the hinge on which all other pages turn. On sheet 1, you have different dates of service, time in and out, units seen, and which therapist performed the session. These are the goals worked on, and this is the level of achievement on that specific goal. On to sheet 2. This is simply where you write your narrative for the date of treatment service. The information at the top is automatically populated from sheet 1. These are the dates of service. This is where your narrative is written. And this sheet will also warn you if you have a date mismatch from sheet 1 or if you missed writing a narrative note. If we go back to sheet 1, notice on the 29th there's treatment from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock with 4 treatment units. Back to sheet 2, this is the date, the 29th. If I back that date out, notice the red warning. Also on sheet 1, it gives you a red warning to let you know that you need to write a narrative note or you have a date mismatch. If I type 29 there, the red is gone. No more red. So red is bad and demands your attention. On to the billing page. This page calculates all treatment and evaluation units automatically. You do not need to do anything here. This information comes from sheet 1, and it comes in very handy for your billing person or your administrative purposes. On to the goal sheet. This is a simple goal sheet. It is optional for use. It is just simply to write out goals, when they were initiated, and when they were met. This top portion is populated automatically from sheet 1. On to the take-home sheet. This take-home sheet can be printed off and given to your client. The therapy type and client name are populated automatically. So are the goals that automatically come from sheet 1. This is another optional sheet, but I have found it very handy in my clinic to give this to clients if I want to give them additional homework or to give a friendly reminder of how many times they were absent last month. Okay, so that's it for the quick flyby. Let's go back to sheet 1 and give a little more detail. Now, the best practice I have found in order to use this note system is to first create a therapy note template. And that would simply include what type of therapy at the top, enter the month and the year, input each treating therapist's name and initials. Once you do that, save it as a template. Then you will be able to quickly create multiple client notes for that single month. Now here's how my therapy notes are saved on my computer. If I bring up the folder, you can see my notes are categorized or saved by year. If I open that year, they are saved by month. If I open a month, the notes for each of my clients is saved there. So that makes them easily found if I need to refer to them in the future. So what I would simply do is open up my template, save the template into that month's folder, and then I could create every other client's note from that template and save it into that monthly folder. So now that you have your template created for that month, you can begin to create each client's note. Simply put their name. To write a note, write your time in and out. Do not use colons because it messes up the formulas on this note system, and it's just a waste of time to use colons anyway. Input your treatment units. Our state runs on a 15-minute unit for treatment, so 4 units equals 1 hour. I put this row right here for evaluations. That way they're less confusing when you go to bill them. In our state, we calculate one evaluation unit as 30 minutes. Now, of course, you can personalize the units for your setting. You can make one treatment unit equal 1 hour. You just have to be consistent. Input the treating therapist initials here. This is important because it is used to calculate total treatment and evaluation units on the billing sheet. Ignore the totals in this area below. They are protected formula areas that cannot be changed. This row of cells is if you need to indicate whether the session was an individual or group session. In our clinic, those are billed at different rates and with different codes. If you don't need this information, you can leave this row blank. Since you already created a template for this client, you should already have goals in this area. You can always add more. Under the date of treatment, input the criteria for that date. Notice that they are sideways. That is on purpose and is to give you more room. The small cell here is to keep up with continuous sessions. In other words, if I write a goal like this one to track progress over successive sessions, then I can input this small cell what number we are working on. Here's a 3 in this one, which means we are on the 3rd session. The 2 here is a carryover from the previous month. The client had performed the goal 2 times successfully the previous month, so it gets carried over here so I can know what past progress was and can carry it over. The NI here means that the goal is not initiated. Notice this pink cell. The letter I is here, which indicates that the goal was initiated on this date. This is helpful if you want to go back and quickly see when a goal was initiated or met. You can also put the letter M, and the cell will turn pink to let you know when the goal was met. Notice today's date and current time here. This is automatically updated from your computer. If you want to enter the client's date of birth, you can right here. In this cell where the evaluation date is, you can project out your evaluation date to a future date, and when that date is surpassed, you will get a purple heads-up indication like this. That lets you know that you need to perform a reevaluation. Let's go to Sheet 2. As I mentioned before, the top information is automatically populated. So is this area over here, which is the goals that you're currently working on. These come from Sheet 1. This is handy to remind you of what you might have worked on during the session. So once you input the information on Sheet 1, simply input that date of service that you want to write your narrative note for here. Then you will click over here and write your narrative note. The initials in these smaller cells indicate who did the narrative note, which is very helpful for when you print these off, and will give the therapist a heads up of which note they should sign. Let's go to the billing sheet. As I mentioned before, this billing sheet is automatically populated except for the totals at the bottom. Scroll down and you will notice that this area is customizable by therapist. There is room for up to 4 therapists treating the same client here. The highlighted cells help distinguish the formulas to change for one therapist. These 2 lines for treatment and eval are for me, so I changed the initials for these 2 formulas. If I click here and go to the formula bar at the top, you will see the initials SH. If I change those 2 initials, and only those 2 initials, and then click somewhere else, you will notice the number changes. I can change it back. Click in a different cell, and you can see that it changed back to 4. And that's all you need to do. For each of these cells, simply change the initials to the correct therapist initials that come from Sheet 1. It will be important that these initials on Sheet 1 are correct, because this is how the formula is calculated on the billing sheet. Now back on Sheet 1, I want to point out that the evaluation row is a different color. That is to be sure to separate the evaluations from the treatment. In my clinic, we have 3 different disciplines: OT, PT, and speech. I highlighted the evaluation unit row for OT green. For speech, I did pink. And for PT, I did blue. That gives me a very nice visual heads up of which discipline I am addressing when it comes to billing or other administrative tasks. There is also a place over here for treatment suggestions. This does not get printed off when you print out the note. This is simply to convey thoughts or ideas to yourself or to other therapists who are treating the same client. And that is the explanation for this therapy note system. When you purchase this note system, there is a full instruction page included. You can print this instruction page out and refer to it at any time. You can also email me any questions that you may have. I thank you for taking the time to look at my video about my therapy note system. As I mentioned, I have used this for over a decade. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at scott@startatherapypractice.com. Thank you so much.